Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've come to you today with a clean face to talk all about color correcting. Now, when it comes to color correcting or any sort of makeup, you want to make sure that you prime your face first with a good primer. I always use the Senegence Silk. And this is a pretty fantastic product. I can show some examples in another video where basically it can help to fill in pores, make them seem smaller, and it really doesn't take that much. I just apply it all over my face in kind of a downward pressing manner to press it into the pores, which gives you a good foundation for your makeup. Now, when we talk about color correcting, there are usually two things that people want to correct. One are things like redness or zits. I've got a little guy right here that I've been dealing with for a few weeks that finally made up his mind. And then under eyes. And that's like I think my favorite part about any sort of makeup is that color correcting is pretty awesome. So you can do it really quickly and have kind of a normal appearance without having to like take on a ton of makeup. So the best way to decide what you need in order to color correct is to figure out first what you're color correcting. So reds are the most common because that's any sort of redness like zits or any sort of like splotchiness to general skin tone. During certain times of the year, people tend to have a little bit redder skin because of how dry it is. And then under eyes tend to be like a purple color. So I brought my handy dandy guide here, my Blends guide, and in it, it talks all about this guy, the color wheel. And the basis of the color wheel is that you look at colors in a wheel, and if you look directly across from a color, there's gonna be a color that neutralizes it. So, for example, if you look to where the red is, completely opposite of red is green. So any sort of red discoloration that you have is going to be canceled by a green color. That's why our color corrected tinted moisturizer has a green base to it, because it helps to kind of eliminate the redness that you typically have on your skin, or some people do. There's also this guy right here. This is the green color concealer, and this is perfect for kind of spot applications. So I'm gonna put the tiniest little amount on my finger. And this brings me back to my childhood because I had really red acne prone skin, and I used the Physicians Formula green stuff, and I would just like plaster it on my skin. So I've got this tiny little bit, and I'm just going to pat it over my red spot. Now, this is not the end of our discussion because we need to kind of work it in, and then we're gonna cover it with a concealer because the green alone is not sufficient. We need a little bit of a concealer as well. So I'm just gonna take a typical little brush and work this in over that area. So that helped to really get rid of it. And now going over it, you can either go straight to like your foundation, or you can do something like a spot concealer. Say you're not really in the mood for like a foundation today or whatever, but it still has that kind of greenish tone, but it's considerably less red, and that's part of that balancing. Now when we talk about under eyes, we're usually talking about like purples and blues. So if we go back to this guy, if we look across from our purples, we get kind of an orangish color. And if we look across from our blues, we get more of like a peachy kind of color. And so depending on what tone your under eye circles are is gonna depend on how intense you need to go with your color correction. So being a fair-skinned white woman, I tend to pick something that's a little bit lighter in the peachy tones. The one that I like the most is Candlelight, which is one of our Shadowsense colors. And it just has the smallest kind of peachy undertone. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and apply it right under my eye and take just this Sigma F64 kind of concealer brush and work it in. And you wanna be careful on your under eyes not to use too much product. And the other important thing is that your color concealer is going to go right on bare skin. So you can put some product under it, something like a primer or like an eye cream, but it should not go over things like tinted moisturizer or foundation. It needs to be color correcting your skin itself. Another thing is if you've got kind of fine lines under your eye, make sure after you pat it in, you drag your eye down and clear that out. Now for some people, that's not going to be quite peach enough. And so that's when I reach for Terra Cotta, which is an actual blush color. And this is super pigmented. So again, a little goes a long way. And this is going to definitely be more peach tone. So I'm just gonna put the smallest amount and show you what it looks like on my eye itself. And again, bringing it with that concealer brush. Now both of these are totally acceptable ways to color correct. If you have a darker skin tone or you have more of like a greenish undertone to your skin, so say for example, if you look at the veins on your wrist and they're more green than blue, think of kind of the opposite of what we did earlier with the red tones. Green canceled out red, so red is gonna cancel out green. So you can reach for something like a red eyeshadow or anything with more of like a red tone to it if you've got more of the green undertones for your eyes or green undertones anywhere that you want to correct, and red is going to be what you reach for. So now that I have my color correction on, I can go ahead and go straight to my next step, which is going to be some foundation. And I'm just going to use Dewy, which is part of our just regular Make Sense line. There's two lines. There is the original, which does not have any sort of oil base to it, which is great for me because I really don't have, or I really have oily skin. And then the other one is our anti-aging, which has more oils to it because as you get older, the oils in your skin kind of don't work anymore and you tend to get like drier skin. I've always had really oily acne prone skin, so I reach for the original. And what I'm gonna do is, I just kind of patted it over that area that I corrected earlier with the red, or my red area I corrected with the green. And when I get to my under eyes, I'm going to be very sparing and not actually get super close to where I color corrected, because I don't want too much product there, because as someone who's not, like 18, I have fine lines underneath my eyes and I wanna be sure that I don't get any sort of makeup accumulation in it. But see how now that I've got some foundation on to bring my skin tone kind of all the same shade, you can't really see the dark circles. That little zit guy is pretty well concealed compared to previously. And you can, add as much or as little as needed. Sometimes if you have some, bigger acne that isn't going to be covered by foundation alone, you can go in with a concealer and cover it up. So we do have concealer. This is the shade Light, but we have light, medium, and deep, and they're going to help give kind of like a spot coverage. So sometimes people use this on their under eyes because that's all they really need. But that's the short and long of color correcting. If there's anything else that you ever want to correct, so say something on your skin tone that you want to kind of alleviate, I really encourage you to look for that color wheel and adjust accordingly and kind of see what works best, and play around with some different colors. Sometimes you may have to mix things around, but at the end of the day, try and find whatever works best for you. I'll catch you guys in the next video.